let's talk about count and non-count nouns. First of all, what is a noun? A noun is a person, place, thing, or idea. Look at this picture. There are people in this picture. There are 5 individual people. Here is a teacher. These are students. What other nouns could you use? Friends, man, woman, men, women. All of these are nouns. Now look at this picture. This is a place. It is a park. It is Encanto Park in Phoenix, Arizona. What other words would you use? These are nouns to describe a place. Now look at these pictures. These are pictures of things. Now, things can be inanimate, like a tractor. A tractor is not alive. Things can also be alive, such as animals. Cats and dogs are animals and they are things. Insects are also things, as is a tree. These are all nouns that represent things. Now, expressing ideas is a little bit more difficult because an idea is abstract. I'm going to tell you what these pictures suggest to me, but whatever idea you think is also going to be correct. This reminds me of peace, freedom, joy, excitement, and the middle one was love. At least that's what it means to me. Now, some nouns can be counted. We can count people, 1 student, 3 children, 5 parents. We can count things like 0 pens, 88 bottles, $12. And we can count lengths of time like 5 years, 8 months, 3 hours. Other nouns cannot be counted. For example, water, air, gas. Things that are liquid or gases, we often cannot count them as units. Similarly, salt or pepper, when we're talking about the spice in a jar. Abstract nouns like loyalty, pollution, information, money, these cannot be counted. Now, here are some notes about non-count nouns. We do not need to add an S to form a plural because non-count nouns do not have a plural form. Look at this sentence. There is 1 grain of sand in my shoe. I'm only talking about 1 grain. Compared to this sentence, there is so much sand on the beach. Obviously, I'm talking about many grains of sand, but I don't add an S to the word sand. Sometimes we can put a non-count noun into a countable container. I can say I have a bag of sand, or 5 bottles of water. We can use other words. 3 drops of water, 1 grain of salt. Now here's a link to lots of resources, and I'm going to email you this page for more information. Interesting, some count nouns can belong to a non-count category. For example, food is non-count, but we can count noodles and hamburgers and French fries. Fruit is non-count, but we can count apples, pears, and bananas. Furniture is non-count, but we can count chairs, tables, and couches. Equipment is non-count, but we can count printers, ropes, and tractors. Weather, non-count. Storms, hurricanes, typhoons, count nouns. Work is non-count. Jobs and positions are count. Jewelry, non-count. Rings, necklace, bracelets are all countable. Money is non-count, but I can count dollars and pesos and coins. Clothes is non-count, as is clothing, but I can count tops, shirts, dresses. Footwear, non-count. Shoes, sandals, boots, count nouns. Housing, non-count, but I can count apartments, houses, condos. Silverware is non-count. Forks, spoons, knives are all count. Now, when do we use a or an versus some? Here's some pictures. An apple versus some apples. A peach versus some fruit. Let's break it down. I have singular count nouns. I use a tree or an apple depending on the noun. If the noun begins with the sound of a consonant like tree, I use the word a or a depending on how you want to pronounce it. A tree. If my noun begins with the sound of a vowel, like apple, I will use the word an. Now, with plural count nouns and with non-count nouns, we use the word some. Some apples. Here I'm talking about a plural, more than 1 apples. And I can also say some fruit. But note, fruit is not plural because it is a non-count noun. And let's look at the whole line. A tree, an apple, some apples, some fruit. Here's another line. A person, an uncle, some people. Notice people is the plural of person. For non-count, I could say some oil. I can say a happy girl, an unhappy boy. Now notice here I have adjectives in front of the count noun. And depending on the adjective, I use either a when the sound is a consonant, happy, I can hear the H, or if the sound is a vowel, unhappy, I use an unhappy boy, versus some jobs count, some work non-count. Similarly, a pretty flower versus an ugly weed. I can count some plants, non-count some vegetation. When do I use a lot of or lots of? When do I use many versus much? When do I use a few or few versus little or a little? I can say I have a lot of apples or a lot of fruit. Lots of apples, lots of fruit. I can say many apples, much fruit, or so much fruit, depending on my sentence. I can say a few suitcases because I can count them, or a little luggage because luggage is non-count. Never would I say a fruit, or few fruit, or many fruit. We do not use these terms in front of non-count nouns. Again, let's break it down. With plural count nouns and with non-count nouns, I can use a lot of apples, a lot of fruit. This is the same. I can also say lots of people, people is count, or lots of oil. Oil is non-count. So here you don't have to worry about the difference. But notice, with a count noun like jobs, to indicate that there is a lot of jobs, I could say there are many jobs. With a non-count work, I need to use the word much. I have much work to do today. With plants, a plural count noun, I would say few plants. There are few plants in my garden. With the non-count noun vegetation, I could say there is little vegetation in my garden. On the next PowerPoint video, I'm going to let you practice.